Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty nifty and kind of cool news that there is actually now a brand new PlayStation 5 console that's now been sneakily released on out here. So if you guys probably know or have maybe seen some prior videos throughout the past few years, every now and then, Sony themselves will literally go make a brand new console and do some pretty big either internal or external changes, typically more so on the internal side. And they've had a chance in a few different times where they've changed things like the heat sinks, the layouts of the consoles, and everything else. But this one's even more intriguing because like the big caveat of this is that the brand new disc version of this console is actually now even lighter than the PlayStation 5 digital version was, or at least at launch. So we're going to talk about this, talk about the details, and talk about what we're expecting on the changes are and what's going on with this. And as well, if any of you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. We also have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below. I also have a pretty fun birthday stream probably going on tomorrow. I'll probably just go get drunk all throughout the day, so hopefully a fun time with that one. We have the Target links down below and the Amazon too as well going on down below. So hi, let's go talk about this. So as we've mentioned, we've had some pretty cool different types of consoles out there. There was a really big controversy about a year ago, if you guys remember that, where we had a different PlayStation 5 internal, where the heatsink was actually smaller, and there was a lot of rumor and drama and all that type of stuff, discussion going on to see if it was even good enough or not. And a lot of folks were saying, well, it maybe wasn't really that good, at the end of the day. But then we also had like some more proper information coming out, and it turned out to be totally fine. But now with this, we actually have a brand new, now lighter PlayStation 5 model that's now been reportedly released in Australia. Crikey enough. So basically this is in regards to the disc edition. So this is a brand new disc edition based on the version of the CFI-1200, which is just also another separate PlayStation 5 version itself, is now apparently as light as the digital version was at console launch. So that's kind of surprising because obviously you have the disc and digital. The digital edition has less stuff just inherently. The disc edition has, as you guys can literally see pretty tightly and pretty closely right here, well, it has the PlayStation 5 disc drive. I mean, kind of a big duh. That's why it's called the PlayStation 5 disc. So you have to imagine all of this is extra hardware, extra internal hardware that you don't necessarily need on the PS5 digital. That's why it's kind of cool to go and see this because, well, it's just lighter. It's cool. So there's a new iteration of PlayStation 5 has been released in Australia, which is now reportedly making the console lighter. Press Start reports that the new CFI-1200 series models of the PlayStation 5 now weigh less than the launch consoles, to the extent that the standard edition with the disc drive is now as light as the digital edition was at launch. I feel like I've said that same thing 4 times now, just in different wording from the article itself. So, according to the manuals provided with each version of the console, the new CFI-1202A model of the standard disc-based console weighs at 3.9 kilograms, compared to the 4.5 kilograms of the launch version. Meanwhile, the new CFI-1202B digital model, now without the disc drive, is now also down quite a bit, which is now actually compared down to 3.4 kilograms. So this is like not just an only PlayStation 5 disc thing, although most folks probably focus more on the PS5 disc. It's the better, more optimized / more sold model. But it also does seem like the brand new digital as well has also had some crazy magic done to it because it's also way lighter. I mean, a 0.5 kilogram when the whole thing's only 4, that's a pretty big jump. It's like 1/8 of the entire console going down. Same thing too as well with the new 3.9 kilograms too on top of that. So clearly they're shuffling things around. Clearly they're optimizing the console, and as well, this could maybe be a bad thing depending on what they change and what they move. But as other time goes on, like as RAM gets cheaper and smaller, or as heat sinks get more efficient and better, or sometimes after a few years, you can maybe even have another brand new design. Like you always have these engineers working, and what if someone has a eureka moment and they try to make it a little bit better too as well. So this is now the second time that the PlayStation 5 hardware has been revised to more so focus on making it lighter. In July 2021, Sony rolled out its CFI-1200 series, which also once again did weigh less too than the launch versions. So to summarize this too as well, in case you just want to see like the progression going on with this. So this is the PlayStation 5 with disk drive. So you have to also factor in those extra few inches, or an extra few like I guess spots of hardware tied on in. So the CFI-1000 launch was at 4.5 kilograms. The CFI-1100, 4.2. And the CFI-1200, 3.9. While the PS5 Digital Edition without disk drive itself launched at 3.9, which is currently what the new version's at right now. And then it went down to 3.6, and now with the most recent update, 3.4. So this means that the new 2022 model of the PS5 Standard Edition now weighs the same as the digital did at launch. So it's not yet clear what Sony has done to make the console lighter, but the 2021 model's reduction in weight was due to a change in the heatsink used, which we could cover that in a second, because I'm almost pretty sure it'd be a pretty similar vibe with this. During an investor call last year, Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki said the company was considering various solutions to help it cope with the global shortages of hardware components, including potentially altering product designs. So let me give you guys some more of my own thoughts on this too as well. So I'm kind of assuming when it comes to this stuff, I think it's more of a hardware change for the heatsink again. Now, other stuff might be tied on in too, which we'll get to in a second, but just to wind down the article over here, last week Sony made the difficult decision, so difficult, to increase the PSI price too as well. Okay, so I want to talk about that. So one of the bigger components I think they were pushing more on, which would make sense, has been on the shipping cost. Now, that's a little bit more intriguing because we start off with the semiconductor issues, which is still an issue nonetheless. But a lot of the things that Sony has kind of subtly more so thrown in is the shipping cost, where it comes like, moving them on boats, moving them on airplanes, moving them like just throughout normal, just through trucks throughout America, like, Target trucks going from warehouse to store, or all that stuff. Like all that put together, it does actually add up. Like it does cost a lot, especially when you have like, you guys remember that Evergrande crisis too as well, if that's even the thing, like the big boat. Like that definitely like stalled out stock a lot because there was just ships that just weren't moving, and typically water movement's probably one of the best things out there. And as well as I'm sure you guys know, a lot of shipping is also done by weight. So good examples if you guys are maybe at like the post office. If you're trying to go and send somewhere let's say a huge 50-pound rock, versus just sending someone a nice simple letter, you're obviously going to have to pay more extra money. Think airplanes. You have to, if your luggage is overweight, you have to worry about it that way too. Like it's one of those things where you just have to realize that that does actually implode a lot. So if you could somehow go and then lower down the weight to these consoles, a whole another 0.6 kilogram per console, that adds up, because don't forget, you're not shipping just one console at a time. You're shipping probably thousands in huge pallets all lumped together. So every 0.6 kilogram, that adds up. You have a few hundred, few thousand consoles, that goes and adds up, which also makes it then easier to ship. You save more money on the whole shipping side, and as well, obviously, too, maybe they're just more efficient consoles through other engineers. Now, as you guys also remember, too, there was a big issue on the heatsink on the prior consoles, and this actually had a lot of drama because you guys can even see the two comparisons over here, where the heatsink, in theory, a lot of folks were worried that it wasn't going to be as good, and it was going to be running hotter. Now, after a lot of testing, it was pretty much the same, but I think that's probably another big thing of what they're changing for this new model. Because if you really look at this, there really isn't that much else to really change. You can probably find after 2 years, maybe even 3 years too, because you have to make the consoles, probably smaller RAM sticks and maybe more efficient GPUs and maybe more efficient CPUs, like maybe more on the slightly smaller or maybe more slightly compact motherboards as well, because you could still have the same tech, just smaller as time goes on. Or as well as I do think the heatsink is probably one of the more like expensive in terms of heating. I guess that's probably not good wording. Probably most like expensive maybe, because that is probably the biggest function. Like even look at these two models. Like this just looks like this is the one thing you could probably chip off on and get rid of. So if I had to guess, and we'll probably find more information in the near future, that'll probably be more tied into as well with just more of the heatsink possibly being smaller again, because if it's also smaller on the digital, that means that they did something with both of them at the same time. So I kind of want to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Is this cool? Do you guys are more incentivized to want to get a new console versus the old one? I myself, I think I would, as long as it runs better and it's also slightly like not as heavy. It's probably a slightly better console, although it's not big enough to have to worry because it is only up in Australia as of right this second. So give me your thoughts and comments down below. Do you guys care? Do you guys not care? Give me your also, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below, the Twitter and Twitch room down below, and everything else down below. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching.